Are you ready to low and hardy?
I keep thinking about... I'm pretty sure that the town that the Goonies takes place in is called Aporia.
Oh, I thought you were saying the town that the Goonies takes place in is Sufjan Stevens.
It is, yeah. Actually, Aporia, I'm pretty sure, is the guy who works at the Quickie Mart on The Simpsons.
I don't think that's true.
Aporia.
Time to go over the latest Sufjan Stevens and Lowell Brams album. As Trevor said, Aporia. It's a thematic ambient album based on The Simpsons. Now I want to make that album.
That would be pretty good. If you had Danny Elfman at the helm, I think it would be pretty good. Sufjan Stevens is an American indie folk electronic musician. He's been making music for a long time, but his biggest releases have to be Illinois back in 2005.
Come on, fellas, feel the Illinois.
Come on, boys, jump right into the Illinois.
Come on in.
It's got a lot of group vocals. I'm just kidding. It's got a lot of symphonic, like instrumental background. But where I first got into him was in 2015 with Carrie and Lowell. Remember that name? Where he got back to a lot of his like folk roots. It's a very like folksy album. I enjoyed a lot of the cuts off of there. Lowell Brams, hey, do you remember him? That's Sufjan Stevens' stepfather, who is referenced in Carrie and Lowell. That's the guy.
That's the guy.
This album, Aporia, it marks the retirement of Brams, who he helped Sufjan found his record label Asthmatic Kitty, and they're like business partners. This whole album, which I'm sure if you've listened to it is pretty obvious, it was recorded as a result of multiple jam sessions between the two.
Yeah, and it's just an ambient or like electronic album,
it
mostly
new age music.
Yeah, new age is probably the best way.
I
like new age the best. I think that's the more descriptive because like it isn't fully ambient because it just gets into super symphonic loud territory at times.
Yeah.
But new age is the best. Actually, I describe it as Kanko and Gaku, Japanese ambient new age disco music from the 1980s and 1990s. So yeah, this is also, they collaborated before on Lowell Brams. He released an album like 2008, 2009. It's like Music for Insomnia. I haven't listened to it. I just know that this is not their first.
I think.
Music for airports plus insomnia, where you cannot sleep at the airport. But yeah, I was interested in listening to this just because the concept of like a new age ambient album from Sufjan Stevens interests me, but then I realized he also did the same thing back in like 2017 with Planetarium, and I remember I did not like that. I just completely forgot that project existed. I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember it because I liked Carrie and Lowell, and then I remember that he released Planetarium, and I was like, "What is this?"
So this is pretty much the same but worse. I don't like this. This is in areas of new age and like ambient that we've already been to before, and there isn't anything complimentary about the track list or the artist or essentially anything about this. It doesn't work as an album. It fundamentally just doesn't, because like a lot of these tracks just like they go on forever, like not in track length but in just like the build up of production. They don't build up to anything interesting. They just linger in these bland, already explored areas of ambient and new age, like disinheritance, determined outcome, mythology, backhanded cloud, glorious you, the Lydian Rain, especially the last track on here. Like these are just like spread out nothing ideas that last for like a minute or two, and then we'll move on to something else, and then those will either like begin or end with these spread out ideas, and then you'll maybe get like a moment of like a cool segment or something, or some like glitchy distortion, some really interesting bumping percussion, but it doesn't progress for long enough, so the ideas feel unfinished. Like the end of Afterworld Alliance has this like building up at the end, so you think it's going to go somewhere exciting, and it just fades out.
Yeah, I thought that the beginning of this sounded really promising. Yuja and then What It Takes, like it sounded like the beginning of a symphonic movement. I was really excited to see where this was going to go, and then immediately after that, it just nosedived. I was like, man, what happened?
I personally actually didn't care for Uja. I thought it was just a lame synth patch that played out, and then some unflattering synths came into frame, and I really just didn't like the combination of the two. What It Takes has some nice frantic drums that escalates into a cool moment with atmospheric buildup of a bunch of various synths, and then that escalates into just boring, long-played synths that is just like, you listen to Brian Eno once, and this is the outcome of it. Agathon is probably my favorite track on here, as an interesting chord selection in the middle that sounds like an epic video game score that is accompanied by this weird flute-like synth and this glitchy distortion. But other than that, the track doesn't go full length. It just stops.
Yeah.
It just breaks down into like emptiness again. Ataraxia is a cool moment. It has this very cool like chime-like sense. It reminds me of the Minecraft soundtrack, very C418-esque. The runaround is a cooler epic sip moment, but it doesn't like it's like really cool synth work, but it really, in the grander scheme of things, it doesn't have any personality to it to make it interesting.
Yeah, I would agree.
And that's it. Like, that's this album. Like, I just don't think there really is any originality to it. It's just, like, already explored terrains of ambient music.
Yeah, I think it's, like... Honestly, this is, like, very strange to me because, like, maybe to Sufjan and Lowell, like, this means more. But, like, when I read that it was about, like, oh, it's about the, like, the retirement of his stepfather and blah, blah, blah. And I went and looked up, like, these words that I didn't know, like... so I could know how to like pronounce words like Yuja and eudaimonia and that
I think it's actually Quiji.
You're right. It's Quiji. It's Ouija board. That's Oasis actually.
Wonderwall.
Yeah. But
it's all about Wonderwall. It's like taking Wonderwall, stretching it out so it's an ambient track.
I think I would actually enjoy that. But I went and looked up a lot of these like words, and a lot of them are like philosophy terms in Greek that mean things like essence or prosperity and like feelings of freedom from stress or worry. But then like I don't think that the music reflects that at all.
Yeah,
it's very strange. Like, you could make like I don't know. You could make a song about like murder and then call it like Sunshine and Rainbows, and it just wouldn't line up. And then you could say like, look how deep I am. But this is like I don't know. This is stupid. This is like when I got mad over the titles of The Comet Is Coming.
I just feel like it's just like. The story behind this album probably means more to them than it means as an album
is not
in whole.
Translating at all. Like
it just like it like I read the Bandcamp description and like it was just like they've been friends for years. Like Lowell set up Sufjan's career by buying him his first keyboard and all that, and it's just like, wow, this means like a lot to them, but to me it just means nothing. Like comparing this to like another recent ambient album we reviewed on the channel, me and Jonathan reviewed the latest Brian Eno album that he did with what is his brother's name? I can't remember, but it's his collaboration with his brother. And is essentially true to form to what he's always done. He doesn't really challenge himself that much. But the piano melodies are so calming, and there's different types of textures and warmth to each track that it works. And the album complements each other as a whole. It's not super visionary in its quest. Like, this is already conquered territory for him, but in the concept of an album, it works. This album, one, isn't anything new. Same thing like that Brian Eno album. But two, doesn't complement each other because, like, these ideas are different enough to clash with each other, but they're not different enough to stand out.
Yeah.
Like, there isn't, like, they want to have, like, a bunch of different types of electronica on here, but it just ends up being just various shades of ambient that just don't mash up together.
I agree.
And that's all I really got to say. Keep in mind those scores if you tell me this right now. I'm feeling a 3 to 4 on this.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 3 because I'm not afraid.
Not afraid
to
take a stand.